beside that curb, it's a blind spot. I understand that. So in my research, again, OCGA doesn't let you legally ride a bike on the sidewalk. That being said, there's plenty of use cases where sidewalks have been incorporated into like a trail system, of which signage is properly placed. And so I was asking Lee this question earlier as well, sort of, if you were to pursue a change order as such to remove and infill with concrete the planters on the west side, you maintaining the on-road northbound bike trail, but making the southbound, if you will, so from Dogwood and North Avenue coming southbound, so the west side. If you did not have planters and made that into a multi-use trail where the bike traffic is heading south and it's shared, basically a shared sidewalk trail system, so it can come into the city. So you basically remove the bike from the west side of Dogwood, but keep the bike on the east side of Dogwood, like actually still on the street. And so this is my paperwork. I mean, the case in point of what I was looking at was at the intersection of one of the many Peachtree in Atlanta, Peachtree and 5th in front of Biltmore. So they have a eastbound flowing on-road bike lane and then a sidewalk / trail flowing back on the actual sidewalk heading towards I-75 from Biltmore going Atlanta. To me, it was just a similar use case to what we were talking about this morning, where it still allows for the road diet, but road shrinking the road and increasing the sidewalk size, but also protects the safety of the bicyclist by moving them onto the side of the sidewalk that's closest to the actual parcels and not on the street. So it sort of meets the needs of what you were saying, but still keep bicycle infrastructure out there.
And they have something, now it makes sense what you're saying. You're saying that with the bike lane, it's not safe. If there was no bike lane, the narrowing of the street wouldn't be as big of an issue as sharing the road with a bike. If I need to swerve to avoid hitting the cyclist, it's not, the street isn't wide enough with the planter and the sidewalk and bike lane to do that.
I guess
But all of this has been engineered, and all this has been approved by the State Department of Transportation. I mean, Larry, if all these safety hazards were there, they would have been picked up somewhere along the way in the engineering.
You would think so, but I mean, I ride bikes with my daughters, and I don't want to be on Dogwood Drive with 4 feet less road to ride on.
And that's
You
your
know,
perspective.
and you're not supposed to ride on the sidewalk, but I'm not going to ride in, in the road that's got 4 feet less width. That's just, to me, it's just setting up too dangerous a situation, and I would like y'all to go over there tomorrow and put a halt on that until you study it further. Because I don't see how trying to be safer by calming the traffic, you're introducing 3 dangerous situations by doing that. The motorists have less room to maneuver if they encounter a situation where they've got to make a quick change. The bicyclists now have been crowded, they've been pushed more into the traffic, whereas now they have 4 feet that they can enjoy. They won't have that anymore.
Did you get the example of what I was referencing, like having the
Not totally.
And I don't know if have you ever gone on the West Side Trail on your bicycle?
The west side trail.
Beltline.
the Beltline?
They actually have what he's talking about, 10 minutes. It's a enclosed cycle track where pedestrians and cyclists share the road.
So that would be the westbound. I'm just saying proposed outline.
You mean
But again,
west side or southbound?
west side, south side. So this is where you walk, that's where bicycles go. Then you keep the is bicycles, the road, northbound side next to the sidewalk.
The bicycle on the road on the northbound side. The northbound side is pretty good the way it is. It doesn't look like there was any loss of the road width on the north.
I'm just, does that add clarity to what's in?
Yeah, I
Okay,
just,
folks, we need to get to some kind of point.
that's my.
That's good. What's your street number, Larry? Campbell Circle, Larry Martin?
Son.
701, you got that, okay. I want to make sure, thank you. Is it y'all's desire to want to revisit this design? Because, I mean, we're 10 miles down the road with this project, so.
I mean, I think it's a valid point for future projects as a cycle. I see what he means. Just in the future. It's something that I see more and more in the city where the streets can sustain that large sidewalk and the cyclists and pedestrians can share away from traffic.
Is it a change order to move the planters out?
All this, no, we can shorten, we can make small adjustments. This has already went through GDOT to design, approve. We can make some changes without going through delaying this project a long time and maybe coming out of our own pockets for that.
Can you get the mic, please?
The road width is 30 feet. That's from outer white line to outer white line. The only thing that's going to be changing is now you're not going to have 15-foot lanes. They're going to be 11-foot driving lanes and for the bicyclists. So that's what's really changing. This grant was obtained because it's a bike pedestrian facility. That's how we got the funds. We don't have any in our city right now. We don't have any bike lanes. I understand his concern, the planters.
And there were some, y'all met and y'all have made some
We
adjustments.
did. We actually had to remove one for vision clearance, which was good. We've looked at that curve, going through the curve, and possibly going to eliminate one there if it's a conflict with the utility poles. And all this meets ADA, and that's the whole thing. When we say it's dangerous, if it meets ADA standard and the state's approved it, that's really all we can go on. So we've tried to make adjustments where we can, but a wholesale change is going to be very difficult at this point.
Substantive change, like the.
Correct. Like, in the future, Chloe makes a good point. If we want to look, the CIDs are actually looking at doing bicycle facilities all over the South Metro area. And we'll have more, and if we want to do the joint sidewalk bike type, we can do that. That might be a solution.
I agree. Chloe and I were talking about that, and I think that for any future projects, it'll be very important to think about.
So, I mean, for future focusing, this current project is a substantial change. Removing all planters on the west side.
Correct. We can shorten them up to give more room to the pedestrian on the sidewalk. But some of them house lights, so we can't, go too short. And we'll just try to do what we can, but substantive changes at this point is going to be tough in the design. This money was based on bicycle paths and share the road. So we will do what we can.
If I might, Mr. Mayor, add one more thing. It wasn't difficult to make the change at the corner of North Avenue and Dogwood. I don't see what is so difficult about not building the planters and having the edge of the sidewalk instead of protruding 4 feet into the road. Have the edge of it where it is now. I mean, I don't see the difficulty in that.
As a gardener, I would say planters are not a good idea. In the wintertime, they're all dead. In the summertime, it's really hard to keep plants alive in planters. And the the upkeep required by the town to keep them watered, they have to be watered every day, really. So whoever designed this wasn't really thinking about that. And in the future, I would say no planters. And I went down the road to get to this meeting tonight, and it was so narrow, I felt like it was in Europe. I mean, it's so narrow. I want some more road back.
Susan Stone, what's your address, please?
431 Walnut Street, excuse me.
All right, any other comments?
I have something. I just want to say,
Separate. You got,
Oh,
no,
I'm sorry.
when you speak, you
I
must
know you did.
identify
I know,
yourself
and
and state
I
your address.
apologize.
for the
I'm
record.
sorry about that.
I know. I'm just asking for consistency.
I just want, Marshall Lamb, 3343 Northside Drive. I just want to say that I get what they're saying, I understand, but we've been knowing about this for years. I mean, years, right, Lee? So it's nothing new about this. This is nothing new. I knew this is gonna happen when it happened because I had to come and explain it to my friend who lives on Dogwood now. So it's almost too late to do a lot. Because if anybody has been living here for 4 or 5 years, you've known about it. So it's a little late. I don't like the narrow street. And I didn't say anything back then either, and I'm just saying, I think it's too late.
All right, any other citizen comments? Okay, council, comments, questions? I'll go with Travis.
And I like the idea of reducing the planters as much as we feasibly can without incurring a change order. That being said, looking at Atlanta, I know that from a planning commission perspective for Atlanta, NPUs, neighborhood planning units, I know other jurisdictions have pursued charrettes as potential feed-ins to design review council. So like a charrette meets, that recommendation gets pushed to the design review council. Even though this is a city project and it doesn't have to go through DRC, there's some things that are probably not have to go through planning commission either, but sort of as respect for the citizen board that's there. So if there's some type of way we can draft a policy that allows for more substantial I guess, weight to be given on a charrette by way of design review council, and see how that can key into allowing for citizen input in the future.
And we've had PIOH, Public Information Open Houses, and we actually have a charrette coming up next month, and that's for North Central Phase 2 study. It's not a project yet, it's a study. That's where you come and you give your input, is yeah, I like wide sidewalks, or I don't, or I like, bicycle lanes, or share the road, or share the sidewalk. So we have one coming up that will be advertised.
But as presented, that image would be a substantial change order of what I showed you earlier.
Yes.
I don't either.
Floyd?
On this?
It just, these are general council comments or questions or anything you'd like to say?
I have 2 things. And maybe these are things to be added to the next meeting's agenda. But kind of some of the things we talked about prior to the election. One, as far as finance, making a move towards adopting a purchasing card system through Bank of America with a statewide contract that would allow us to get bonuses at the end of the year and any other benefits that we could get from that program, as well as savings and kind of capturing of spending to curb that. And the second thing, just looking at the minutes from last year, motion was made to prepare an RFP for legal in the May 2nd meeting, and it never happened.
Council changed their mind on that. That council.
I just would like to revisit that in the next meeting.
We'll be talking about legal and personnel matters tonight.
My apologies as well. For some reason, I thought we were still in the
That's
bike
right, we did just closing comments.
session. You mind if I?
Sorry.
Let's see. Happy Law Enforcement Day, so I saw that
Yes.
earlier. January 11th, appreciative of potential representative going to the Northwoods Neighborhood Association meeting. So their meeting is at 6 p.m. for anyone that's interested.
Yeah, Travis.
The Northwoods Neighborhood Association meeting, I believe is being held at the Depot, correct, at 6 p.m. I think it's serving as their Christmas/holiday meeting.
Okay.
That's all, probably good to have HPD present. T-Splosh, and I'm not stating a desire for a list change. This is the question's been asked by a resident, so I wanted to do some due diligence on it. I called Randy Beck from Fulton County. He's the Assistant Administrator for Transportation. The question that was being asked is, can you change the priority list? In particular, there's a few residents that don't think we need the silent crossings. I tend to disagree, but still wanted to do the due diligence on the question. In discussions with him, he states that the intergovernmental agreement does not explicitly state in the positive or the negative on changing the list. And if you review the Senate bill, it also doesn't really give clarity. So my question sort of to the other members of council is there a stated desire? There's not a stated desire from me, but is there a stated desire to re-review the potential of changing the priority list?
Speaking just to the silent crossing issue?
Yes.
I think we're gonna discuss that. We need to post that as an agenda item, because that was heavily debated during that period of time. And there are some pretty strong feelings, pro silent crossings. So I think if we're gonna have that discussion, I think it should be an agenda item so that people see it on the agenda.
Is that appropriate for the next upcoming meeting?
How are we looking agenda-wise, Tim?
I think we've got room for it. It's gonna be a long agenda.
Would be heavy.
I mean, if it can wait,
We do it from a month from now?
Pardon?
A month from now?
Why don't we do it at the February meeting? I think it's a little bit more time. Because how are the collections on that, Tim?
We're getting just about $90,000, about $90,000 a month. We were anticipating about $100,000. We're getting about.
It's gonna take a little while to ramp up.
That's right.
And sorry, I'm trying to go as quick as I can on these lists. It's just a lot of stuff that is in my mind. Fulton County Building 344 Claire Drive, formerly I believe known as the Fulton County Health Department building, that's to the west of the library. Just wanted to see if we could possibly get a staff update at an upcoming meeting, and again, it doesn't have to be the next one. It can be 2 meetings from now, regarding if there's the possibility of a real estate transfer for that, and if that occurs, is there a possibility that we can apply for extra CDBG money to turn it into a community center? I'm not stating what that community center is necessarily for, just possibly a workshop space. Elsewise, it's just sort of an empty building, not acting as an active facility in the city. And again, I'm trying to run through this as quick as possible. We've already talked about plenty of these tonight as well, so my list is smaller than it was beforehand. The desire to have the Human Resource Department look into the potential of a third-party hotline from a personnel complaint system at the state level. As an employee, I'm able to put in an anonymous plea, if you will, for a personnel issue to the Office of the Inspector General. I'm just not sure if there's the possibility of to do something like that at the municipal level. I believe Chloe brought up the legal RFP issue. Wanted to look into modification of, and I'll state the section clearly. Part 1, which is the charter, subpart A, chapter 1, section 4-103, subsection B. This is with regards to vacancies on boards. I think we have some outstanding vacancies. So if possibility, at not the next meeting, but maybe a month from now, if we could get an update on those that are applying for said vacancies, minus the vacancy that we filled earlier for Clean and Beautiful, as well as those that are applying and those that are still outstanding. And I'd also like to see if we could add a subsection F in there, restricting board appointments to no more than 2 boards per physical person, if you will. I believe one of the things that we echoed in our campaigns, and surprisingly I think it was the thing that everybody agreed on, was the desire to have live streaming. Mayor Hallman mentioned it earlier as the possibility to revisit the conversation that we have with board docs. There are other substantial solutions, particularly a tie-in with MuniCode offering a records retention software. I believe it's called AHA, A-H-A with an exclamation point. And they subcontract with a live streaming company. I think the necessity to ease the burden for minutes writing for said city clerk is that he or she in this capacity can use that video software to actually auto-dictate the words that are coming out of our mouth, so long as they're not being mumbled, as such that you have a pretty substantial amount of minutes that are available at the end of a meeting. I'd like to also see if by fiscal year 19, and I think we can go ahead and have the discussion over the next 5.5 months, is I believe some of the departments, but not all, currently do a quarterly review process and a formal performance metric per sort of just regular labor standards. So I wanted to see potentially what other municipalities in the region do as it relates to performance metrics, and see if we can possibly implement some best standards as it relates to that. Did anybody else want to mention the potential of a temporary staffing for finance and zero-based budgeting? That's one thing we have.
Oh, yeah, I would kind of explore an opportunity of hiring a consultant to guide us through that process on a temporary basis, 6 months with possibility to extend if needed.
You talk about for a finance person in the finance department, that's what you're speaking of?
Just since Tim is currently acting as city manager, just to help with the creation of the budget, with someone who has a specialty in.
We usually go to accountants for that,
Correct.
so. We'll be talking about that.
think we need to move ahead, and I think we will in a little while, discussing personnel issues and needs where shortages are present. We hope to have a city clerk on board by the end of the month, I believe, and we're working towards that end.
We got a new cool key fob, by the way, which I'm appreciative of. Question that I think we also sort of mirrored between us three is there a council hot seat that we can sit at?
Like for office hours, scheduled office hours for community to come and meet with us from that perspective.
Corner of the boardroom?
Usually use
It's
the
conference room, conference generally available.
Okay.
That's what I did. I surrendered the mayor's office because they needed the office space for full-time staff.
Okay.
So,
Just drip might get expensive over time. so.
Is that it? All right, well, if there's no further comments, thank you so much for coming out tonight. Happy New Year to all of you, God bless you. Appreciate you being involved in your city, thank you so much. Been a pleasure working with you guys tonight. This time I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session, discuss personnel matters.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.